I'm Bob. I like coffee. I also like to tell stories. So here at the Bobcast Coffee, it's time for a coffee break. So take a coffee break with me and pour yourself a cup of your favorite Joe. By the time you're done with your coffee, you'll know something about me you really didn't need to know. But you'll have fun learning it. Just remember, my stories are true. For the most part. Today I am drinking coffee out of, once again, a Geordie original cup. When I can't decide, I always end up with a Geordie cup. They're just great cups. They're fun. They're useful. Look at them. I mean, it holds coffee. Watch. And I really like the color on this one. This is just I'm not even sure, gray, green, blue. It, depending on how you hold it in the light, it actually changes a little bit. It's a very cool cup. But it gets Scars and Stripes coffee into this pie hole, and I'm a happy guy. So now, today, we're going to be talking about episode 29, Snowboats and the Agony of Defeat. All right, back in the days when Bob was just a lad, I found that part of the job description of being a Bob was to be one of the test pilots for many crazy schemes. Swinging across streams using downed power lines. Throwing homemade hand grenades made out of black cats packed in mud. And man, did they ever hurt when one exploded next to you. Riding your bike on the death track out in the woods behind Parmalee School. These were some of the stupid, simple things that a young Bob did. But now you may ask, why would you decide to do such risky things? And I would have to tell you that all of these examples of life experiences were not of my own making, but that of my loving brother, Rick. It was he who found the down power line next to the creek, and it was he who discovered the narrow path of death that cut its way through the woods. And it was also he who started packing mud around black cats, letting them harden in the sun, then using them as weapons in our war games out in the fields out by the house. See, I was only trying to keep up in the arms race of 1969 through 1973. Now, after this time, we moved out of Oklahoma City and into the outer edge of Yukon, Oklahoma, in the community of Surrey Hills. Now, this was a great place to be in the 70s. It's a nice, quiet community, golf and country club, surrounded by fields and woods, at a time of life when you could leave your house at sunrise. And as long as you were back by dark, it didn't matter where you had been, as long as your parents didn't find out. The winter of 1977-78. What a winter. My brother, Rick, owned a British Racing Green 1970 Triumph Spitfire. This convertible was a marvelous example of British engineering that good old boy redneck mentality could take it to the next level. During the winter, Oklahoma was experiencing a once-in-a-decade storm that froze the roads and covered everything in snow. Back then, schools might be closed, but everyone else was still expected to be at work. Now this left Rick in the garage, no parental guidance, a space heater in his ragtop car, and he kept it there until the top was warm enough to safely remove. Now, I don't know who came up with the next idea, but with my fondness of my brother, I will always blame him. Now, it was decided that the next great thing that we were to do to pass the day away would be to tie a 100-foot ski rope to the Spitfire and pull each other up and down the streets. Now, with the help of Rick's good friend Tim Harper, we took a snowboat and we tried it out. A snowboat is something that you would put a small child in and let them slowly slide down a hill. With its flat bottom, it would have no control, but it was very hard to sink into deep snow. This is not a flaw in the design, because the snowboat is made to actually pull supplies and gear over deep snow, not for downhill racing. Now, what we found out was that at higher speeds, the control issues got a lot worse. And banging against cars and mailboxes in the neighborhood, that wasn't much fun either. So, it was time to upgrade. With the addition of big leather gloves and a full motorcycle helmet, we were off to the back farm roads between Surrey Hills and the North Canadian River. Now, my main job was going to be as the spotter. With the top down on the Spitfire, I could easily sit backwards in the passenger seat. Now, Tim started off as the driver, and Rick was the first test pilot. So what could go wrong? With the snow coming down, we took off south on Mustang Road into history. That first trip was pretty cool. The Spitfire handled the ice and snow as well as could be expected, and we didn't get much more than 20 to 25 miles per hour. But if you're sitting on a cruise ship or a train at 25 miles an hour, it would be nothing. Sitting in a plastic tub being dragged across the ground at 25 miles an hour is really hauling ass. The only thing between the ground and your butt is a thin sheet of plastic. When we hit the turn at West Britain Road, the horrible maneuverability of the snowboat showed its face as Rick went skidding into the ditch. Laughing, we got Rick out of the ditch and set Tim up for a run. Heading down Britain Road, Tim held his own, slowly shifting his weight up on one ass cheek at a time. He learned to drift the snowboat back and forth behind the car. At one point, we stopped and turned the car around and started back up on Britain Road. At this time, Tim signaled from the snowboat to go faster. The Spitfire went a little faster. Once again, he signaled to go faster, and once again, we complied. Now, understand, we're still only traveling 25, 26, 27 miles an hour, but Tim now has that snowboat cutting back and forth behind the car like a water skier behind a boat. Then, that quick, Tim was gone. He had overcompensated on his drift and had taken off down into the ditch on the side of the road. And you could not see Tim anymore, but the rain of frozen weeds and ice and snow let us know that he was still hanging on. And then, like a great sports fish on the end of a line, Tim shot out of the ditch into the air and right towards the barbed wire fence. As most miracles happen, we don't know how. But 2 decades before skateboarders learned to do this for entertainment, Tim rides the barbed wire with the bottom of the snowboat and then bounces back into the ditch. His landing left much to be desired, yet we hailed him as king. He survived this moment of certain death, and we don't know how. All Rick and Tim knew, it was now Bob's turn. So Rick turns the Spitfire around for another run down Britain Road. Tim gets me set up with the helmet and the gloves, and he also tries to start to explain how to steer the snowboat, then decides better not push his luck, and instead tells me just to hold on. Tim climbs into the passenger seat of the Spitfire. Rick takes up the slack in the rope. I give the thumbs up and away we go. I never imagined how cool it would really be, but looking through the plexiglass shield of the helmet, watching the ground fly past me was amazing. Just at a slow speed of 5 miles an hour was amazing. And as Rick and the Spitfire took me faster and faster, the adrenaline rush just grew higher. Now, I'm really starting to fly fast enough that the bumps in the ice-filled roads are almost smoothing out. Well, it's either that or the frostbite is already numbing my ass. All I know is I can't wait to reach that 25-mile-an-hour speed to see what it was like for Rick and Tim. One thing is for sure. If they pull me slower just because I'm the little kid, I'm going to be pissed. It's very frustrating to be the one everybody treats with kid gloves, and they're taking their sweet time to get up to speed. Now, as the Spitfire keeps increasing the speed, the snowboat becomes a little harder to control, and the colder my ass is starting to fill. Just when I'm about to call it quits, for my ass's sake, I either hit something on the road or one of the many grooves from Tim's encounter with the barbed wire gripped the road wrong, but the snowboat takes a hard right, and it's now my turn to face the fates that await me in the ditch. Oh, but Bob can't roll through the ditch like Rick, or ride the rails like Tim. No, I have my own form of hell to go through. As I fly off the road, we happen to be crossing over a country road bridge, which is little more than a large metal tube buried in the road at a low point. What this means to Bob is that there is no ditch to ride down. Instead, I leave the ground behind. Now that Bob and the snowboat are airborne, we should discuss the aerodynamics of a snowboat. There are no aerodynamics to a snowboat. The weight of my butt drops the back of the snowboat down. So when I do make contact with the far side of the ditch, it's ass first. The impact jolts me from my butt to my brain and sends me flying back up in the air, tumbling head over heels. One moment, I'm looking in the sky thinking, what a nice day. The next moment, I'm slammed into the ground, and then I'm up in the air again, looking at the sky. I repeat this over and over again until gravity settles me down painfully into the ditch. My loving brother describes this as watching the opening to the wide world of sports, specifically the agony of defeat part. Now, if you're thinking to yourself that this wreck sounds a bit exaggerated, especially for a speed of only 25 miles an hour, I'm going to say you're right. See, I always felt that the speed had to be faster. but I could never prove it. Until I was talking to my brother about writing and telling this story. That's when he admitted I was not going 25 miles per hour, but I was going 40 miles per hour. Now, on the positive side, I did set the 1977-78 winter land speed record in a plastic snowboat. On the negative side, the wipeout impacted my vertebrae to the point that putting weight on it was excruciating. Now, to rush me to the ER would mean we would have to tell Mom and Dad what we were doing, and that would go against the redneck code. So Bob spent the rest of the snow days in bed, sick. By the time we had to go back to school again, I could walk well enough to get by. Within a couple of weeks, I was back to normal, and no one was the wiser. Now here's the real interesting fact. Nowhere in this story does anyone say, "Hold my beer." Until the next time, enjoy some coffee.